not being selfish and taking time to meet your needs and what you need is not a selfish act.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think practicing self compassion too goes a long way. Well, my name is Nora
Mm-hmm.
Fandino. I'm an academic advisor for T.R.U.E Student Support Services, and I've been in this position for 5 years.
5 years.
And I love it just as much as when I started. Yeah, so we are an academic support program. We are federally funded, which is why we have sort of an eligibility criteria, which I'll talk about later. But basically, like I said, we're an academic support program and we try to offer holistic advising or wraparound support. Um, Essentially, our goal is to just be a home base of support for students, or, we be their primary source of support or part of their academic support that they might already have in place. But what T.R.U.E offers is tutoring support for some of the hard sciences. We also have a peer mentoring program. And what else can I tell you again that we do?
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 academic advisors, and each one of us, we have like our little area that we specialize in. And we actually have a personal counselor who's part of the team. So I often say T.R.U.E is sort of like a one-stop shop all. We also have a financial Katie, who's kind of our financial aid expert. Well, I think the more connected you start off your college career, I think the better support that you have under your belt,
Mm-hmm.
the that can translate into your success academically. And so, college is hard, and there's gonna be times when you might feel like you just want to drop the towel, but that's why
Yeah.
it's important to have people cheering you on, and that's kind of what we strive to do at T.R.U.E. We want to be kind of like your personal cheerleaders. That might sound cheesy, but we just, having people to turn to for support, and also, even if you're not struggling, I think it's important to start building connections early on, those social connections that might lead you to other opportunities that maybe you hadn't thought of.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's T.R.U.E, whether it's CMAE, whether it's Pathway, or an advisor in OAA or Tyson, I highly encourage students to connect with an advisor early on. What are some of the challenges? I would say one of the bigger or biggest challenges I've maybe hear from students, one, I would say financial strain can be one, can factor in. Um, so I think it's important to, you know, find scholarships early on if you are able to, and just finding ways how to improve your budgeting skills and that sort of thing. So I would say finances can sometimes hinder students' progress, because then, students have to juggle work and school just because you don't have the luxury of not working, and so balancing those two things can be challenging. The other thing is, I would say, with so much pressure and in this in light of the pandemic, I think there's been additional stressors that students have been dealing with.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I would say that mental health barriers can sometimes interfere
Definitely.
with student success, and but fortunately there's mental health support on campus, and hopefully students opt to access those resources. So I would say the financial strain, and then there's the mental health component. And I would say the third one, I think for many students, having classes online learning is not for everyone, and that has come with its challenges for many students. I've worked with students who have opted to take a term off or two until classes come back, resume in person because the online learning hasn't been productive or beneficial for them. I would say one of the first things, and as a first generation Latina myself, I remember struggling with having to balance family responsibilities because culturally I was the oldest child too, so I was kind of raised to be kind of the support system for my parents, even though they didn't necessarily ask me to. I just felt that was my responsibility, and so and I felt that taking time for myself or prioritizing some of my needs was the selfish thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one of the first things that I would recommend students do is just not understand, but to tell themselves that self-care is not being selfish, and taking time to meet your needs and what you need is not a selfish act.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think practicing self-compassion too goes a long ways with self-care. Sometimes we can be very critical with ourselves, and trying to recognize those voices. I know it's hard to tune them out, but maybe turning those critical voices into like positive affirmations or some sort of, I think that would be another thing I would encourage students to do. And then just making time to do something that just fulfills you or brings you joy. I mean, for me, I stopped dancing salsa for a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
when I got back to it, I had forgotten how much joy it brings to
Mm-hmm.
me. Just dance, or
Yeah.
So making time to indulge in the things that just bring you joy.
Yeah.
Those are, I think, the few things.
For sure.
Angel, I may not be the best example here. I am preaching something that I didn't practice, and I think that's why I'm saying to really, it's hard because you want to help the family, and that was me. I think I just felt that I needed to be there for my parents, helping them financially, and
Mm-hmm.
something I really wanted to do was to study abroad, but I never did because I thought, my gosh, while I'm studying abroad, who's going to help pay for some of these bills? Bills are going to keep tackling on. And so I think I limited myself. I didn't do enough research to where I could have, I didn't know financial aid could pay for some of the costs for a study abroad experience. And so I think I just limited myself as far as what I could do, and I guess that's where I'm going. I think I know sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes you just have to remind yourself that if you're okay, then you're in a better place to be able to help those around you. And so I don't know if I answered your question, Angel. I think I may have gone around the circle, but
No worries. No. On the way.
Yeah, thank you. I was thinking about that, but I never mentioned what the eligibility criteria is. But there is an application process, and you have to meet one of the 3 requirements, I guess you could say. If you identify as a first generation, meaning neither of your parents earned a 4-year college degree, then you qualify for T.R.U.E. Or if you qualify based on our low income criteria, then you qualify for T.R.U.E. Typically, students who receive the Pell Grant qualify for T.R.U.E., so that's a good indicator, I guess. And then the third one, if you are connected to our accessible education center, or if you have a documented disability, then you can apply. So you just have to meet one of those 3.
Perfect.
Eligibility criteria. And then the application is online at our T.R.U.E. website. You can apply online, and we are available. We're pretty available to students if they have questions. We can walk them through the application process. there are no deadlines. We just encourage you to apply. The sooner the better, so you can get connected and start building those connections.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. For high schools around Oregon?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah. Yes, there's definitely T.R.U.E at even I think at the middle school level.
Okay.
But yes, definitely at the high school level, and I think it is upward bound. I believe not every high school has one, but I would encourage students to ask and find out if their high school offers one, because I know that T.R.U.E at the high school level can help them in their college pursuit. I believe they visit colleges. They can help them with the application process and maybe even pay some of the fees. I'm not sure about that piece.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
It's
really?
worth trying.
So
yes, I would encourage them to find out if whatever college they decide to pursue has a T.R.U.E program there. They also, if you decide not to go into a four-year college, I know that T.R.U.E exists at the community colleges as well.
Okay.
And I would definitely encourage students to find out and join.
Yeah, for sure. Like, just to list a couple, if you know any off the top of your head, so like students who are applying to colleges kind of like already have an idea. Do you know like any universities or community colleges that have the T.R.U.E program within them?
Yeah, I know that Lane Community College has a T.R.U.E program, and then OSU has something similar, but I forget. No, they do have T.R.U.E. They have T.R.U.E at OSU.
For sure.
I believe PSU has it too. I'm not sure on that one. I would say just ask, Angel, because I don't know the list.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's a pretty good list, you know, got more options.
Yeah. Chemeketa, most community colleges in Oregon, not Eugene,
for sure.
have T.R.U.E. I strongly believe that making connections early on is key and crucial. And so for a first-year student, I would encourage them to not be afraid to reach out and not be afraid to find their community, because the community is not going to find them. So, and you know, if they feel like they don't belong, you know, more reason to connect with an advisor or with, you know, other peers. But yes, I think making connections early on and not being afraid to ask for help are probably like the things I would encourage any first-year students to do, which I know they sound simple, but they can be hard to carry out sometimes.
Yeah, so. And I mean, they will pay off in the end as well.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Really appreciate allowing me to come and taking time out of your day to share your stories and tips and advice.
Yeah, well, thank you for thinking of T.R.U.E.
Yeah.
to include us in your interview.